You are on.
Thank you. The meeting of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr?
Aye. Or here.
Director O'Halloran has informed us that she is running a little bit behind. Director Peterson?
Here.
Director Taylor has also informed that she will be arriving from another meeting. Director O'Halloran
Present.
and Chair Herndon.
Present.
We have 4 present.
Thank you. I will now ask the secretary to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now have an announcement regarding interpretation for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para escuchar esta junta, por favor marque el número 312-626-6799. Repito, marque el número 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación o código para esta junta, que es 608-130-5362. Repito, el número de identificación o código es 608-130-5362. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. We will now move to our items of business. As stated in the public notice, individuals who wish to speak were required to register in advance. I also ask those waiting to speak to please remain on the platform until you're called upon. Although we are on a virtual platform, we will still follow Robert's Rules of Order, which dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair. Also, any questions or requests, including those from board members or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. As always, written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Written comments may be submitted to the board via the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee 53201. 2181 or fax to 414-475-8071 or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page on the MPS website and choosing online agendas. Now let's begin, Madam Secretary. Item 1, please.
Item 1 is action on monthly personnel matters. Action on certificated personnel transactions, actions on certificated appointments, action on leaves of absence, the report on certificated resignations and classified retirements, and the affirmative action report. The administration recommends that the board approve the promotions, appointments, and leaves as listed in the attachments to this item to be effective upon board approval.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Good evening, Chair Herndon and members of the committee. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. We're asking for your approval of the monthly personnel item as well as reporting items before you. Adrian Matalini is here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I see no hands. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Thank you, Director O'Halloran.
I move we approve administration's recommendation.
Okay, committee, is there further discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly personnel matters. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, which is action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, salary increases and decreases, and the limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days. The recommendation is that the board, 1, authorize the individuals to be promoted, reassigned, or reclassified, receive decreases or increases in salary, and be appointed to the classifications indicated in the attachment to this item to be effective as indicated in the attachment, and approve the limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days pursuant to Administrative Policy 6.23, Parent 4, Parent B, to be effective as indicated in the attachment.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of the administrative appointments, reclassifications, and the LT contracts that are before you. Adria Maddalini is here with me this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to her at this time, and after which we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Adria.
Thank you. Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Adria Maddalini, Chief Human Resources Officer. I just wanted to briefly mention that before you is an updated appointment list. We had 4 additions after the agenda was posted last week, new people that we are bringing on. So we thought it was important that we get them in this month as soon as possible. So we wanted to bring it forth. Also, you will see a strikeout as 1 name needs to be removed due to them declining the position.
Okay, thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Seeing no hands, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 1 individual who is registered to speak on this item. Would you like to go to public testimony?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The speaker that we have on the platform to speak on item number 2 is Amy Miziaco. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Amy Mizialko, Mizialko.
Thank you.
Chair Herndon and Superintendent Posley, I'm speaking in opposition to this item, in particular, the recommended LTE contracts, specifically the 5 LTE administrative positions listed at $40 per hour for educator effectiveness implementation coaches. As the board and superintendent are well aware, Milwaukee Public Schools is currently in pursuit of a waiver from the Department of Public Instruction for educator effectiveness. Teachers have been, and I'm saying teachers on purpose, teachers have been and continue to fill all kinds of staffing shortages on a daily basis on top of their regular duties. And we're at a major tipping point in education. We are all seeing the surveys. The one I read today was that 48% of teachers state that they have considered quitting within the last 30 days. And of that number, 34% say they're thinking about leaving the profession entirely. Teachers and administrators alike are stressed, they're overworked, they're at the end of their rope. And after the tremendous pressures of the past 2 years, they have nothing more to give. They're giving everything that they have time, energy, their heart, and mental well-being. We have drastic staffing shortages in our buildings. We need substitute teachers. We need teachers to cover classrooms. We need folks to come and help with bus arrival and bus dismissal. We need help with lunch and recess duty. Here is what we do not need. We do not need LTE administrators marching through our schools, marching through our classrooms, observing all of us, stretched to the very end of our ropes, giving all that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes the public testimony on this item, and the item is back with the committee.
Thank you. Committee members, does anyone wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Director Peterson?
Yes, I was wondering if the administration can give us an update on our request to having to do with getting a waiver from the educational effectiveness program this year.
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, the waiver has been requested. When we brought the item before the board and we get approval, what we have to do is draft up the document to send back to DPI with the request for the waiver, and we have done that.
Any follow-up, Director Peterson?
Yeah, assuming we were to get the waiver, what would these individuals then do? The ones that was referred to by the public speaker.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, this is Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. The coaches that have been hired as LTEs will continue to support classrooms. Under the direction and leadership of the principal, they'll serve in the various capacities, such as helping schedule lunches, to continue bus duties, as well as professional development in the schools. They will sit as LEAs on IEPs. They will work directly with administrators and staff to build positive relationships. They will continue to coach teachers and cover classrooms based on their experiences. They will also respond to principal requests and continue to do the walkthrough as well as any supervision that is needed. They'll work directly with the administrators to make sure that the support in each building is given. They also will work on scheduling and completing records. They will work on the scheduling of Google Meet and assist the principal in those things needed. They also will work with the Office of Administration as we continue to finish up our Courageous Conversation professional development. They will support the SSTs with professional development, as well as support the learning and the work of ambitious instruction. And as other duties as assigned, they will continue to support the staff shortages by filling in upon request.
Thank you. Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. My question, President Peterson asked my first couple questions. My second question, my first question is it possible to just alter the title of these LTE contracts, considering that they serve in multiple capacities? Because I think that is a bit confusing when we see educator effectiveness and we're waiting for the result of the waiver request. And so would it be possible to change the name given the need for those individuals to serve in those different capacities?
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee. And what we have is EELC district/school responsibilities doing the waiver. So basically the name change, yes, that is just basically where these individuals were were attached, as far as what budget and where we were paying the money from. So that's the rider, but as far as the name and what we call those individuals, we can do that at any time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Otherwise, I'd like to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Carr, please.
So noted.
Thank you.
Gavel received.
Okay, my question is simply this. I'd like clarification, especially for our audience that is listening or watching, which means that as these LTEs will serve in an assistance capacity across the board, that would be my expectation based on the presentation of administration. They would not be following their normal duties as outlined under the LTE contract as administrators or monitoring the staff for educator effectiveness. Instead, they would be in the building to offer assistance. And then the other question would be, are they spending 8 hours in the building or somewhere between the beginning and the end of the day, just for a couple hours?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Vice Chair Carr, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. At the time the LTEs contracts were submitted, they were under the rules and the job description of the LTE for the educator effectiveness. However, we have developed these responsibilities since the submission of the waiver. They do not spend 8 hours in the school. However, they spend up to 20 hours a week supporting school and district needs. So it will be based on the needs of the school, based on where they will be sent.
Okay, thank you. But it would strictly be in an assistance capacity to the administrator of the building.
Yes, they will work at the discretion of where the administrator needed support.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Gavel back.
Yes, please. I now have
So
the gavel
noted.
back. Madam Secretary, did I hear you?
So I'm noting that the gavel has been returned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson.
I move approval of the item. And I'll just note that the description of the 4 individuals or 5 will go according to what the administration said based on the waiver being successful. That's not part of the motion. I just want to note that for the record.
Okay.
So noted.
If there's not further discussion on this item, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to administrative appointments. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, action on the Milwaukee Board of School Directors Supplemental Early Retirement Plan for Teachers, and that is the teacher's plan, and the Milwaukee Board of School Directors Early Retirement Supplemental and Benefit Improvement Plan, Investment Management Services, and that is the one for the administrators. The recommendation is that the board approve the recommendation presented by Callan to invest 100% of the teacher's plan and the administrator's plan assets currently under BMO management in the Baird Intermediate Board Fund, which meets the guidelines of the current investment policy statement. So basically, with this long recommendation, just to understand, currently the plan is with BMO management and the recommendation is to move it to Baird Intermediate Board Bond Fund.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Hunden and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval for the supplemental early retirement plan. Carol Edie is present with me this evening, and we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee on this item? Director Carr.
I move approval of the administration's recommendation.
Director Peterson.
I was going to do that.
Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Carr's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the supplemental early retirement plans for teachers and administrators as recommended in the item. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 4, action on a request to approve revisions to the district organizational chart. The recommendation is that the board approve the proposed revisions to the district organizational chart as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Okay, will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of the revisions of the district organizational chart. And this gives the opportunity in the district to kind of flatten the organization and to get some things in place that will support the organization as we move forward. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I see Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. Just a quick question. If you could walk me through the changes from the original organizational structure or chart and in comparison to the one that's being proposed tonight, that would be helpful because I don't know exactly what has changed, or at least for the audience. So there's clarity there.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, Director Carr will gladly do so. What you will see here in the previous organizational chart, there was 2 deputy superintendents, a deputy superintendent for the business side of the house, a deputy superintendent for the academic side of the house. What I have done is collapse those positions and also now we'll have a chief, asking to have a chief of staff and also an operations chief is what has been added to the organization. So those are the 2 interchangeable pieces that is there. The chief operation officer will give an opportunity to move some things from underneath other chiefs so that it's more equally distributed across. And so those are the changes. And then I've also added the chief of staff's office and the equity work within the district. I have elevated upward so that it is underneath the chief of staff.
Thank you.
Any follow-up?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Director Peterson, then Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I understand that the reason for doing the Office of Chief of Operations, because we have a lot of operations, and that was in those 3 items were in other under the guidance and supervision of other offices. So that makes sense. And so essentially, instead of 2, if I get this right, instead of 2 deputy superintendents, what in terms of personnel, we're replacing those currently vacant positions with a new officer of Chief of Operations and the Office of the Chief of Staff. And I think the way that this is laid out is looks positive. I guess and I am very pleased that the Black and Latino male achievement, equity, access, and inclusion, and the gender and identity inclusion direct departments, if they are that, are under the Office of Chief of Staff. I assume that means that they'll get more attention, not to criticize in the past, but they'll get more attention at the upper level of the administration, you know, direct line to the superintendent via the Office of the Chief of Staff. And I think that's a good idea. Certainly, we want to continue to emphasize, improve our work with equity, access, and inclusion.
Thank you. Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions. One, where would I find MPSU on this org chart?
Chair Herndon,
Administration.
members, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, that is in the Office of Human Resources
Okay.
under Talent Management.
Okay, perfect. And then I just had a question about why we are choosing to align school performance with communications when it seems, at least from where I sit, that it would more closely align with academics. Can you speak on that, please?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things that I have done, I've looked at modeling this for schools in the Council of Great City Schools. And the piece of this is the Office of Communication and School Performance. And so therefore, I'm seeing that as a total link of working closely together around the performance, and we have to do a better job of reporting out our performance indicators, key performance indicators, and things that we're doing within the district. And I see a direct line around that particular piece with that work and lifting that work up so that we can market it and push our schools. And that is, and when we look at this piece, it is always in other org charts buried within and hard to market. And this is an opportunity for us to market our performance because we want to make sure that we can increase our enrollment.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director O'Halloran?
Okay, thank you for the explanation. It seems like assessment and curriculum would go hand in glove. So I guess I would just see it in a different way. But going forward, do you have plans to just evaluate the alignment of these functions just to make sure that they're in the right organizational structure going forward?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, excellent question, Director O'Halloran. The answer is yes. And that is something that should be done every year around budgeting time. So get a chance to take a look at it. And that is something that is a part of the budget. So therefore that will be adjusted and modified every single year.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Madam Secretary, I'd like to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Carr.
So noted.
Thank you. For me, I would like to say that in the overall scheme of things, I do like this chart and I'd like administration to know that. However, I do have a question about communications and marketing, not so much as where it's placed on the chart. That is acceptable to me. However, I think I speak for the majority of the board when we probably don't have a good answer for this, but I'd like administration to know that we hear complaints about information not getting out to the community quickly enough. And I'm not sure wherever we place this on the org chart has the solution or is the solution. I think that there's more that needs to be done, perhaps discussed between the board directors and administration to make sure that a timeliness is addressed in terms of communications. And that might go a long way in helping us modify the brand, in some cases improve enrollment and others, because we do have a tough, hard road ahead of us for the next several months, and we've got to speed up response times on any and everything coming out of communications. So that's what I'd like to say, is that we may not necessarily have the answer. We simply know where the need is, and would ask that administration be cognizant of that.
Administration.
Chair Carr, members of the board, thank you, Director Herndon, for that. One of the things that we have been focusing on here is this whole thing about internal as well as external communication, how fast we can get it out there. And I will agree that communication is key, and the expedient of getting it out there is very appropriate. But what I also want to do is that we are working with a marketing firm that is really working closely with us on these two caveats to make sure that we can turn things around in a moment's notice and what we need to do. And I would just say that it's going to take a little time, because I think there's a meeting set for next week with the communication team as well as myself, as well as that to talk with that marketing team around the vendor, that around what needs to be done, and that is work in progress.
Okay.
And I will say to you that we are not where we want to be right now, but we're in the process of getting there.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, I'll take the gavel back.
There you go.
So noted.
Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request to speak on this item. However, we did receive one piece of written testimony on this item that was forwarded to the board.
Okay. If there's not further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Peterson's hand is up. I'm not sure if that's, oh, it's down.
Okay. Up, down. Go ahead, please.
Madam Chair, there is not a motion. I'm wondering if that's what Director Peterson's hand was up for.
Oh, okay. A little ahead of things there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Director Peterson.
Excuse me. I moved the approval of the administration's recommendation.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the revisions to the district organizational chart as listed in the attachment to this item. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 5, which is action on monthly finance matters. Change orders in excess of $25,000 and emergency purchases due to COVID-19. Acceptance of the report of revenues and expenses, the monthly expenditure control report, the report on school funds transfers, the report on contracts under $50,000 and their cumulative totals, the report on monthly grant awards, and the acceptance of donations. The recommendation is that the board accept the donations as listed in the attachment to this item, with appropriate acknowledgements to be made on behalf of the board.
Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the monthly finance item. Janina Dumchek as well as Martha Kreisman are here with me this evening. And between the three of us, we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson.
Move approval of the item as presented by the administration.
Okay, is there further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly finance matters. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 6, action on the award of professional services contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts as listed in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the professional services contracts. Janine Damchak is here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Director Peterson, your hand is raised. Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And this is more of a general question, and I'm happy to move approval of this recommendation, administration's recommendation. But just in general, I had reached out to someone because I had questions about the first one that came up with the early retirement funds. Would someone be able to give me an overview? It doesn't, not publicly and not at this time, but just would I be able to meet with somebody just so I understand the various funds and how we're making sure we're managing our funds properly for retirement and the other, like in our outstanding debt. I was just hoping I could get an overview of some of those things.
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, absolutely. We will reach out to you tonight and set up something. And anyone else that wants that, we will provide that, and I will have the team to walk us through, walk everyone through that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director O'Halloran, do you have a follow-up, or is that okay?
No follow-up. I am happy to move approval of administration's recommendation.
Okay. If there's not further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to move approval of the administration's recommendation relative to the award of professional services contracts, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, action on the award of professional services contracts for the Office of Board Governance. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Okay, will the Office of Board Governance please present this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. The contract that is before you is for lobbying services. We do look at lobbying services from both a national, local, and this is our statewide assistance with that service. We have currently, Mr. Thiel is one of our lobbyists who is here within MPS, and we have another position, but we also contract for lobbying services. And this contract usually goes through the RFP process with the opportunity to extend. And so the contract is before you tonight.
Okay, do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? I see no hands. Madam Secretary. Oh, Director Peterson.
Thank you. I just want to mention that I appreciate the work of the group that works with us, with Chris Thiel. I met Remy Zelenkova, who is part of that just yesterday, as the superintendent and I were testifying in front of the Assembly Education Committee. She was very helpful, very informed, and very supportive. It's definitely, we're getting our money's worth working with that organization, that lobbying group. Unfortunately, even the best lobbyists, though, can't quite convince some of our Republican legislators to do what I think is the best thing. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Do any of the remaining committee members wish to speak upon this? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Okay, I don't know
It
who
was
was
Director
first.
O'Halloran.
Okay, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I move approval of administration's recommendation.
Okay, if there's not further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to move approval of the recommendation of the Office of Board Governance relative to this professional services contract for lobbying services. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 8, action on the award of exception to bid contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the exception to bid contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the exception to bid contracts. Dean Dumchek is here with me, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments on this item? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee? Director Peterson.
I move approval of the administration's recommendations.
Okay, is there further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of exception to bid contracts. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 9, action on a request to adopt a resolution to support safe routes to school, the Transportation Alternative Program. And this is the grant application. The recommendation is that the board adopt the attached resolution to accept the award from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation supporting the Safe Routes to School grant application.
Okay, will the administration please present this item?
And members of the committee, we are asking for your approval to adopt the attached resolution to accept the award for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation supporting Safe Routes to School grant application. Brett Fuller is present with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions at the present time? Director Peterson.
Yes, I would just like the program to be described in a little more detail. Sounds like something we want, but I'm not very familiar with it. So if you could explain it, I'd appreciate it.
Administration.
Yes, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, my name is Brett Fuller, the Curriculum Specialist for Health and Physical Education. This grant program has been around since 2005. Our first application. This is where we partner with Wisconsin Bike Federation to provide pedestrian safety lessons to students every year for elementary children up to 3rd grade. And then for students in 4th grade and higher at selected schools will also then receive bike safety lessons. And so this has been a very successful program. They service about 2,000 to 2,500 students each year. Since the inception of the program, we've served over 28,000 students, or is it 25,000 now, students within Milwaukee Public Schools.
Great. Is there any follow-up, Director Peterson? Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Carr.
I move approval of the administration's recommendation.
Is there further discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Carr's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to a request to adopt a resolution to support safe routes to schools, the grant application. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 10, which is action on monthly facilities matters. The FMS awards of professional services contracts and material recommendation, purchase recommendations, and the report with possible action on the regarding air quality. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached professional services contracts, the materials purchases, and accept the attached air quality report.
Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're asking for your approval of the attached professional services contract, material purchases, and air quality report. Sean Kane is with me this evening and can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. And he will also share this month's air quality report. Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Herndon, members of the committee. Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities Maintenance Services. For the air quality report, as mentioned in last month's report, FMS is continually working with our 4 integrated project delivery contractors, IPD teams for short, that were approved last July. Our FMS team has been working with our contracted owners representative, Concord Group, and I asked them to provide me a summary of the latest list of school sites with proposed contract amounts for ESSER 2. The scope within the contract includes testing and balancing of building mechanical systems, similar to a ventilation audit, repair and/or replacement of mechanical units, with some already being on our deferred maintenance list, installation of water bottle stations, construction of outdoor classrooms, installation of window screens that are missing on window units, and other interior projects to promote social distancing and to mitigate the spread of COVID. The costs vary from each size of the school and if it's an elementary versus a high school. For instance, if the school has bug screens in the building, we omitted that particular scope. Some schools had water bottle stations installed as part of their recent performance contract. The projects, not as many stations are needed then. Some needed their windows replaced because an integrated system of replacement of the unit ventilators, which is the mechanical units, within the classrooms. Some had outdoor classrooms constructed, so less funding was allotted, but it can be used to supplement their current setting with additional seating or accessories if school leaders make that decision. After the testing and balancing is completed, it may result in more repairs and or replacement of mechanical units. The report is the current snapshot of the contracts. The IPD contractors are now bidding out the identified scopes to solidify their estimates, to see if scope needs to be added or reduced at school sites. Our team still has a lot of work to do ahead, but we're making significant progress. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there committee members that wish to make comments on this item or ask questions? Okay. No questions, Director Peterson? Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee on this item? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I am happy to move approval of and accept the air quality report. And I just wanted to say I did ask a bunch of questions earlier this week, and I wanted to thank administration for your patient responses, helping me understand the air quality report. So thank you for that.
Thank you. If there is not further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly facilities matters. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 11, which is action on a request to approve the lease agreement with the Milwaukee Excellence Charter School for the Happy Hill School located at 7171 West Brown Deer Road. The recommendation is that the board approve the lease as attached to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the lease agreement with Milwaukee Excellent Charter School at the Happy Hill School location. Sean Kane is here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or have comments? Director O'Halloran? Director Carr?
Okay. I was just wondering, can you explain to me how this would impact? We recently approved, I believe, a 1-year agreement for the Andrew S. Douglas, the 3rd floor. So I was just wondering if this would be in addition to, or is this like a longer term strategy moving out of that building?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director, Facilities and Maintenance Services. The lease that is at Douglas currently right now was for 1 year, and that's the one that will be ending at that site. So the students that are there, this will be the carryover for the 4-year term that's going to the Happy Hill site.
Any follow-up, Director O'Halloran?
So I just wanted to double check then. One recommendation we had considered prior was making sure that we didn't sign lease agreements that went longer than the term of the charter. And I recognize that those are 2 separate processes, but I was just wondering, what is the current charter agreement? When does that end? Or like, when would that renewal process take place? Does it align with this building lease?
Administration.
Herndon and members of the committee, this contract and lease agreement is in line with the 5-year lease, a 5-year contract, and it ends at on 5/26. So it was just the idea that 1 year was spent at the Andrew Douglas complex, and then the other 4 years, after approved, will be at the Happy Hill campus.
Okay, Director Carr, did you?
Yeah, I know it's been a while since we discussed the Milwaukee Excellence lease agreement and the terms for the co-location. And so I'm curious to know if there has been any feedback or assessments that has produced results relative to what that experience was like. I believe during the when we approved for the lease, we asked for, I don't know if it was a study or an evaluation or some report to be done with regards to co-locating. And so I'm just curious, I guess, really to learn how that experience was for Douglas and Milwaukee Excellence, and if there were any more feedback provided with regards to co-locating and just the process overall for deciding the leasing agreements, if that makes sense.
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things I will say that we are not able to speak tonight to the idea of co-location and the surveys and things of this nature of what we have found. It'd be more anecdotal type of things that we will be referring to. And, that is something that the team has taken note of and will be bringing and can be prepared to turn something like that around back to the board. But tonight we are not prepared to share that because that ain't something that we've looked at. And we were asked to go and make sure that we meet with that school community, the Milwaukee Excellence School community, and find a place for the upcoming school year. And that is what we are bringing tonight before you. And we have been in constant communication with that school community. And this is what we have agreed upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Carr?
Yes, just one more question for clarification. Does the school community include the experience or the reflection of the experience of Douglas as well?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, I would ask if Director Carr could give me a little bit more on that one. Need a little help there.
Okay, so I want to know, has or will Douglas be negatively impacted by the change? And has there been any conversations or communications with the school leader there to ensure that they're not negatively impacted by the shift?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, thank you, Director Carr, for clarifying the question for me. The school will not be harmed at all. So each of our schools are given enough dollars to operate fully for the academic year, and it won't be any reflection on Andrew Douglas at all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Madam Secretary, I'd like to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Carr.
So noted. Also for the listening audience, Director Taylor has joined the committee.
Thank you. A couple of questions or corrections, perhaps. In our pre-meeting, there was a discussion on, let's see here, I have to look at my notes. It's hard being chair and then having questions as well. Okay, one of the things was related to how the leasees pay, whether they send a check or whether they do so electronically, or if we have that capability. And that was supposed to be incorporated into this. And I didn't see in this most recent version of the contract where it was referenced in terms of giving the leasee the direct, concise information as to how their monthly payments were to be made. If they had the option of doing so electronically or with a cashier's check or what have you, that's missing in this current version.
Administration.
Miss,
Chair Herndon.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Madam
Vice Chair
Chair.
Carr.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I believe Jeremy McKenzie from the City Attorney's Office on the line? If
Yes.
he could weigh in on this relative to if that is a contract term.
Good evening. I guess Chair Carr, members of the committee, Assistant City Attorney Jeremy McKenzie. I was working with Director Kane on getting the pay. As originally drafted, our leases usually call for payment by check. The request to have an additional payment system, we discussed with Mr. Kane, and I believe there was he was going to have some discussion with MPS, the administration finance, about what arrangements could and couldn't be made as far as payment goes. So I guess I would defer back to him on the results of those conversations.
Thank you. Administration.
Go ahead.
Vice Chair Carr, Director Herndon, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities Maintenance Services. As Mr. McKenzie indicated, yes, we took a look at the language that was in the lease, and under the rental part 6C, originally it's specifically called out to have the rent to be paid in check format, and we changed that to rent to be paid to MPS, and that was after a conversation with Comptroller Ms. Dudley. She could probably elaborate more onto that about the payment process through finance, so I'll defer it over to Ms. Dudley.
Director Herndon, members of the committee, my name is Renee Dudley. I'm the Comptroller within the Department of Finance for Milwaukee Public Schools, obviously. We're able to take payment, particularly for a rent amount like this, whatever method the vendor would like to provide. We do take quite a few payments via ACH, particularly the state of Wisconsin. All their payments are paid to us directly via ACH. We have a mechanism with them where we know the amounts, the dates they're paid, so we're able to identify them when they're deposited into our bank accounts. At this moment, we don't have a system where we can have any payment. Well, anybody can pay us via ACH if they have the information, but we don't have a rigorous system in place to allow us to have a more unified approach to accept payments via ACH and to pay via ACH. It is something that we're looking at doing. We're in the middle of a financial system upgrade right now, and that's one of the things we'll want to look at when we get up to the most recent of the releases to see where we can move forward. However, for a rent payment, because it's a fixed amount that we know who it's coming from, if they pay us via ACH, we'll definitely be able to identify it and have it recorded appropriately to their account.
Okay, thank you. Yes, because when we had the pre-meeting, we had a discussion of that, and I do think it would be very important if we try to accept these large fund amounts electronically as possible. We've done some assessment of receipts and an audit over the past year, and I think our record processing would go much better if there were an electronic footprint of the funds going in, what's coming out versus what is remaining or outstanding. So with that, I would hope that administration continues to work on that so that you can do the ACH processing of receipts, because we are talking about sizable sums of money on a monthly basis, and the opportunity for debts owed to us, accounts receivables, is far better if it's electronically going through the appropriate departments and systems, so that if the receipts don't come through, it's readily available for us to move forward and seek those funds. So that's it. Thank you. With that, Madam Secretary, I'll take the gavel back.
So noted.
Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have requests for public testimony on this item. We have 3 individuals registered to speak. Would you like to go to the public testimony?
Yes.
The first person on the platform registered to speak on this item is Rodney Link. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Good evening, Rodney Link, L-Y-N-K.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Herndon and members of the committee for the time today to speak on behalf of Milwaukee Excellence Charter School. My name is Rodney Link Jr. and I am the current CEO. We are grateful for our continued partnership with MPS. As an organization, we aspire to positively contribute to the overall education community. Everything we do is focused on giving our students the opportunity to succeed, and where we learn is an important part of that story. I'm here today to share with you that determining our location will provide stability and continue to inspire excellence for our students and families. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
The next speaker on the platform is Danielle Borgia. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record and begin your testimony.
Danielle Borja, B-O-R-J-A.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Herndon and the members of the committee for your contribution in supporting our students' future. My name is Danielle Borja, and I am a proud school leader at Milwaukee Excellence. I started my journey at Milwaukee Excellence as a teacher, and I can say I've witnessed firsthand how Milwaukee Excellence is truly making a positive change for our students and families. Through the leadership and vision of the school, Milwaukee Excellence has been able to give our students and families hope for the future. This unique environment became a home away from home, not just for myself, but most importantly for our families and students. It is also one of the essential reasons why I continue to proudly work at Milwaukee Excellence. When we all return from virtual instruction, we can recognize as an educational sector that it is important that learning was happening in person and that we needed stability. Our students and families have shared their concerns of where our future lies. I ask you for your support in giving our Milwaukee Excellence community stability and a vision for our future. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes the public testimony on this item.
Okay, thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Okay, Director O'Halloran.
Thanks. I move approval of administration's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the lease agreement with Milwaukee Excellence Charter School for the Happy Hills School located at 7171 West Brown Deer Road. On the motion as read into the record, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say to Milwaukee Excellence, welcome to District 1.
Madam Chair, apparently there was someone else who had thought they were registered to testify on that item.
Okay.
I don't
Yes,
know.
Madam Chair, we did have another individual registered to speak on that item, but they were no longer on the platform. I can check with technology to see if they've rejoined.
Okay. You want to do that before we move forward?
Yes, one moment, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
We'll give that a quick
At this
second.
point, we have just checked and no one else is on the platform. Amy Miziako was registered to speak on this item, but she is no longer on the platform.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move forward.
Director O'Halloran, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Director O'Halloran, was there anyone else?
No, it was Amy Nisialko. I was just wondering, so I mean, at this point, we've already taken the vote and I know we want to keep the meeting moving. Is there a way that at least if she could email in her testimony?
She has just rejoined the platform.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
so much. I know this is confusing when you testify in one and then another item as well. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Secretary, go ahead, please.
Okay, so Miss Amy Miziako, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Amy Mizialko, Mizialko. I realize that the committee just voted in favor to move this item forward. I do want to note for the record that the MTEA wants to be certain that the board and administration is paying attention to the lease rent revenue proposed for this school. Previous boards, previous superintendents have offered below market rate leasing and sweetheart deals to other non-hospitality charters. And so MTA is asking that that there's absolute certainty that we are asking for what the market bears and that there are no special deals in terms of the lease rent revenue. The other item that I wanted to speak to is the co-location in and of itself. The board made the wrong move in co-locating Milwaukee Excellence inside of Douglas. Any co-location is parasitic in its nature and it always harms the host public school. In this case, the students of Douglas and the students of North Division. Both have been harmed by this board's previous decision to engage in the co-location of Milwaukee Excellence at Douglas. It's very important to the MTEA that that harm is assessed and addressed, and that the intentional and purposeful feeder pattern between Douglas and North Division is reestablished, reinforced, and strengthened. And again, the MTEA wants administration and school board members to know that we do not and will not ever support any co-location of a private non-instrumentality charter school in one of our public schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes public testimony on this item.
Okay. And we've already voted, so moving forward, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 12, which is a report with possible action regarding the data and progress associated with reviewing school requests utilizing ESSER 3 funding for additions and/or renovation projects. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the report for ESSER 3 funding for additions and renovation projects. I have Sean Kane here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or make comments? Director Peterson.
I was under the impression that some of these had already been approved. Could you explain which ones now I'm seeing? So is it in the green? No. How can I distinguish what was already approved and what is new?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things that we were able to do is to go back with an equity framework to take another closer look at some of our funding that was given to each individual school and tried to see what we could do to bring that funding up, looking at advanced projects and things of that nature. So a number of the schools that are there went from a smaller amount to like $100,000 in some of the projects. Some of the projects that we talked about early on were not funded. And so we went out and did studies of those school projects. And then, in some cases, those projects changed a little bit. And so there were funding that's set aside for those projects. And I will turn it over to Sean Kane to do a more streamlined approach of what's new and what is that has been there. Sean.
Thank you, Dr. Fosley. Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities Maintenance Services. The supporting documentation that you're looking at, as Dr. Posey indicated, that there are some projects that were below the $100,000 threshold, which we agreed at the January 27th board meeting, that the minimum that we give $100,000 for each school. Some schools may have requested something that's like $40,000. So we went back to those schools to see if they had other projects, to see if we can get to that point up to 100,000. There's some projects that were at zero that were rejected. We went back to those schools as well to see if there's projects that we can get to the point of the $100,000. So the projects that were approved at the last go around, you'll see that are all listed there. The items that are highlighted in blue, those were the changes that were added. With Director Peterson asking about the green, there was a kind of a question asked that what are some significant renovation projects? That's kind of subjective. So we looked at anything that was over $250,000. Those are the items that are highlighted in green or bold in green. And then if you look through the whole, everything else was what was approved, but the new dollar amount that you see at the end, the $66,920,200, that's where the total is at after what we had at the last go round was just below 64 million. This is the stuff that's been added on. So the stuff that's been approved at the January 27th meeting, that's the stuff that's different that you're seeing with the document here.
Okay, any follow-up?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, Director Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. I just wanted to make sure I have clarity because we talked about, or the administration stated, those that were not at the $100,000 cap But from my understanding, the $100,000 wouldn't be included in the bigger picture of the renovation. So I just want to make sure that that money that was already allocated for the $100,000 is still there for the schools, and we're not adding into the bigger fund or more of the capital project.
Go ahead.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, that is correct, Vice President Taylor. There's $100,000 that all schools receive. This is additions and renovations. This is a different piece for $100,000.
All right, thank you, Chair Herndon. And the only reason I asked is for those listening audience or any of those schools, the $100,000 was brought up, and I didn't want them to think that this is interjective of that monies, that this is additional money. So if they have plans to do something different with the $100,000, they're still able to.
Thank you.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, administration and Director Taylor, for pointing that out, because I had that exact same question, and our audience needs to understand that that first $100,000 has nothing to do with this. Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. And I want to thank administration for going back. I know one of my schools wasn't previously on this list as requesting anything, and I noticed that there is something there now. So I appreciate the extra effort, making sure all of our students are receiving funds through this and improvements in their experience. I am sure administration's on top of it, but I think we had set aside 65 million. Is there any concern with this now going above the 65? Is there anything that the board should know about risk-wise that way?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, right now we're fine. And, and so soon as we get actual numbers in, we might know something a little different, but right now we are moving in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Director Taylor, did you have something else? Okay. All right. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee, please?
This is an informational item and no
Is
action
it?
is required.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 13, a report with possible action on limited term employees. The contracts July through December of 2021. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're asking for your approval of the LTE semi-annual report. Carol Edie is with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or make comments on this item? I see no hands. Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment? Oh, okay, Director Peterson.
Thank you very much. I just want to mention for listening audience, one of the things that the district has to do is track carefully the hours that the LTE people work, LTE people, folks, because of the law that was passed after Governor Walker came into office, which limited the possibility of retired people working full-time under under different school districts. It's not just Milwaukee, it's the entire state. This has been a real disadvantage for districts, and hopefully that law will be changed sometime so that some of these people who want to come back and work, teach full-time can do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more comments? Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay. And this one is We have to vote on this one, don't we? It's not,
Madam Chair, this is also an informational.
this
item.
is informational. Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Okay, with that, I would say this meeting is now concluded and everyone have a nice evening.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You as well.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.